know that everything's up and running and working. Thank you. That was quick. Very good. Well, welcome you guys. I'm excited to do session 2 with you. I know that session 1 was a ton of work, and you guys have been working hard, so appreciate that. Hey, for today, if you have your action list handy, that's going to help you. If you don't, that's okay, but you are going to need to take some notes and just be ready to ask lots of questions and take lots of notes. There's no pre-work for this other than the homework. So first off, I know that you've got lots of choices of things you could be doing with your time right now, and I want to thank you for showing up. And I want to tell you from my heart, and I think you guys that are on really know this, but our entire Meridian team really genuinely cares about your success. And it was the succession plans done poorly and the problems that I saw out in the marketplace with people trying to transition positions that actually had us do this session. So again, we're here to help you. Know that we really do care about your success, and thanks for being here. What can you expect today? Well, we're going to do a quick review of session 1, and then we're going to talk about execution. And as promised, we're going to talk about some failures, what not to do, and cover those in a little bit of depth and actually give you some, and I'll call them case studies, but I'm going to, of course, keep them anonymous, of situations that I've actually seen in the industry that haven't gone well. And then, of course, we're going to flip from that to what to do, and then, of course, your action plan, and then I'll give you a little sneak preview of session 3 to the final session. So a little review. You know, we talked about in session 1 that this whole idea of, in order to have a leadership transition, that you've got to have a breadth of knowledge and all the information necessary to be successful in that position. And that was the key, and that's why we took you through the exercise we did in session 1 to help get that out of you. And we also talked about the leadership lid. Gosh, I was so blessed in that last week I got to go spend time with John C. Maxwell. In fact, I've now been certified as one of his leadership coaches, and I'm not going to do a lot with that in this session right now, but with Petro Answers, I will be incorporating some of his materials, and got to rub elbows with people from about 40 different countries. I'm one of, I think, less than 1,000 certified coaches that he selected out. So had a lot of fun, got to go to his home in Florida. But he talked about, you know, leadership really being the ability to influence and add value to others. And as I see some of the young people coming up into leadership positions, I think that a lot of times they think that it's just kind of giving direction, you know, running the show, rather than this idea of adding value. But the really neat thing about all of this is that leadership is learned. But we also talked about that the business is never going to rise above the lid of its leadership, which is why it's so important that the leaders be equipped, and how you bring your successor in. For most of you on the call, some of you are actually the ones coming in, but that's the lid on the organization. And then we talked about 4 major steps to any transition, and of course selecting the incoming leader, identification of all the information that they're going to know, and we did a lot of that, and how you're going to get that into the leader in a concise and understandable form. That's specifically what we're doing today, is this step of number 3, and then of course number 4 is actually someone being replaced. So in this series we talked about the structure. We were going to do preparation, then execution, and in execution talk about the failures, and then of course session 3, control and feedback. And I gave you some warning that there was going to be a little bit of homework. I tried to do as much of it as I could during the session in session 1, but we did have the homework. And you know, I know some of you have been candid, and I totally get this, by the way, that everybody seems to be just really swamped right now, and that you know, being able to do homework is carving out the time has been difficult for some. And in fact, I had one guy tell me, he's like, I just got to put this on hold because I've got so many people on vacation. But you really, for this one, that session 1 homework absolutely has to be done. There's no way around it, because what you do in your position, the position that you're replacing, and of course I'm going to be talking from the CEO level today, but you absolutely have to do that. There's no way around it, because everybody's business model is different. The things that you do are different, and so that's a very individual thing. And I also, just a quick story, I have a confession to make to you guys, is that this is kind of the do as I teach, not as I do, is we had a position turnover, unexpected. Now the good news was, and for those of you that have been in the coaching, you know I'm a big believer in the red books, but you know, we had to do this process in, you know, like 5 days. And so, you know, I went through the pain of it, and you know, I'm sure we didn't do it perfectly, but certainly this was actually the format that we used, so it was good. All right. Now, as you went through the homework, you might have felt like it was a lot of work, and some of you actually did tell me that. But I want you to consider the alternative as you're kind of going through the pain and the agony of the homework. Is consider the alternative of no plan and just what I call kind of winging it, right? And what happens with that is you get this longer learning, and it's very disorganized. I've seen so many father-son transitions where it was so disorganized. There's frustration that occurs with both the old and the new leader. I shouldn't call them old, I should call them exiting. And in a worst case, the staff may overload, revolt, or become apathetic, which is another troublesome point. You can have stuff that just simply slips through the cracks. There may be tons of mistakes that start going on. I've even seen customers leave an organization during this transition. And the other, right now in today's marketplace, danger is vendors and bankers may get very nervous. And we've seen this with transitions where the bankers are just, oh my gosh. So, you know, this is important stuff. So it is worth the work, is what, you know, I'm just trying to encourage you. And the other thing I want to encourage you with is that there's a cost. And we don't have it as a line item on our income statements, but there is a cost to doing transition poorly. And so again, I just want to encourage you that when you're going through the pain and agony of creating a plan, I wish there was one I could just, you know, say here it is, just go do it, but there's not. It's individual. But remember that there's a cost, and so you know, that will hopefully encourage you that it's going to save you dollars in the long run. So passing the torch review, session 1 preparation, the little review, you remember this, that there was, you know, really determine which position, identify all the actions, and then one of the keys was that you want to identify resources and contacts. And so in your action plan you were to do that. You were to address the direct and indirect reports, the people side of it, and then we had you answering the rear view mirror critical questions. And those, I think, a lot of you found pretty enlightening. Now, I want to just give you a moment in your Q&A to tell me either a success or a frustration or a learning that you had as you were going through the questions and the preparation that you did in session 1. So if you'll just give me just, and I want from everybody just a little insight you got from session 1 as you went through and looked at all the things that you did and the resources and all the things. I'm going to give you a minute to do that. So again, you're going to do that in your Q&A area. If you're not seeing your Q&A area, for anyone who's new on this, there might be a little red or an orange arrow, and if you click that, you'll be able to see the Q&A. Don't use the chat area, use the actual question area where you ask questions, and you'll be able to see that. So just a little feedback from you on session 1. Any insights, any